Hey guys, welcome to Catching Up with Cam. Um, Today I wanted to talk about college football week 7 and do a little bit of a review on college football week 6, as well as NFL week 6 and a bit of a review on NFL week 5. So, first of all, I wanted to start off by talking about last week's Kansas versus TCU game. Kansas and TCU gave us an old fashioned shootout. It was a great game. Personally, I think Kansas deserved to win that game. And I think there was a couple of missed calls there at the end, but you know what? They didn't win, so that's all that matters. So I'll give TCU props. That offense was just too much for Kansas to deal with. Texas versus OU. So Texas really never gave OU a shot in this game at all. They ended up winning 49-0, blanking out Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry. So all in all, a great game. Shows that Texas is really elite with Quentin Ewers at quarterback. Another good game was Utah versus UCLA. So Utah versus UCLA was a Pac-12, I think it was a 4 o'clock kickoff time. Dorian Thompson-Robinson played a great game. Utah's Cam Rising played good. Ultimately, UCLA keeps undefeated and wins. Another one was Bama and A&M, the night game on CBS, 8 kickoff. I feel like Bama did a lot to try and lose this game. They had 4 turnovers. We played with a backup quarterback. I feel like we just missed all of our opportunities to put the game away every single time. Ultimately, Jalen Milroe didn't play bad. He had the 2 fumbles and the 1 interception. The 1 interception, he was trying to play hero ball, and the 2 fumbles, he just got to get a better grip on the football. But I think once he does that, then he'll be set. Because you can see where he's got the skill set to be the next great Alabama quarterback. But I think if Bryce Young played Saturday night versus A&M, it would have been a completely different ball game. But, yeah, so that's all for that one. Another interesting matchup that happened in Week 6 was South Carolina at UK. So this one was a late-night kickoff at Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky. But UK played without Will Levis, and that shifted the tide, leading to South Carolina beating a top 15 Kentucky team. That means 2 losses in a row for Kentucky, so their chances of playoffs are pretty much out at this point. But they could still make a run for the SEC East if they win out. But they've got to play a lot better than they did last week. So college football week 7, the biggest game of the week is Bama versus UT, University of Tennessee, not Texas. I think if Bryce Young plays in this game, I think Bama wins comfortably. But he's not even the X factor of this game. The X factor of this game is Jahmyr Gibbs. If Jahmyr Gibbs goes off for another 100-yard rushing game and Bryce Young plays, then Bama wins by at least 3 points. But even with Jalen Milroe, I think if we can get the run game going against Tennessee's front 7, I feel like we're going to have a good game no matter who plays the quarterback, as long as our front 5 does a better job than their front 7 does on defense. But ultimately, I got Bama winning. Next game is Penn State at Michigan. The last time Penn State won at Michigan, I think, was 2017 with Saquon Barkley, who had an amazing, incredible game that day. I think that their running back, who is built like Saquon Barkley and about just as fast, I think he plays just as good, if not better, than Saquon did that day, and Penn State walks out of Michigan with a win. Kansas, OU, not a lot to talk about there. I think Kansas blows out OU. Jalen Daniels and that Kansas offense and their defense is just too much for OU. Oklahoma State and TCU, I think it's strength versus strength. TCU's offense versus Oklahoma State's defense. Ultimately, Oklahoma State has a really good offense as well, but their defense is their strongest aspect of their game. TCU, on the other hand, does not have that good of a defense. So I feel like if Spencer Sanders plays as good as he has, then Oklahoma State will easily win versus TCU. So I got Oklahoma State by 7. NC State versus Syracuse. Honestly, Syracuse, a great running game. They have a decent passing game. One of the undefeateds of college football right now, surprisingly. But I feel like Devin Leary and NC State's defense is too much for Syracuse. I feel like they win, and they win big. USC versus Utah. USC's been getting lucky the last 2 games. They had to pull away late from Oregon State, then Washington State last week. So I think this week they try to sleepwalk into there again, but I think Utah's Cam Rising in that defense is too much for USC to handle. Mississippi State at Kentucky. I think Will Rogers goes into Kentucky, throws for 5 touchdowns, throws for over 350 passing yards, and I think they win in Kroger Field. I think the only way that Kentucky has a shot in this game is if their defense comes to form like they did, but they've got so many injuries, and that they need Will Levis to be back at quarterback, because Kyan Sharon, I think is his name, is not going to get it done versus Mississippi State. But that's all for college football. So now I'm going to go over NFL Week 5. One of the matchups of the one kickoff game is the Dolphins at Jets. First play of the game, Teddy Bridgewater, backup quarterback already, Tua Tagovailoa gets hurt and is put in concussion protocol. So the Dolphins start off by playing with their third-string quarterback. They're on their, they have 2 DBs that are, well, actually 3 starting corners that are out. And then Eric Rowe was out as well, and then we lost to Landon Roberts late in the third. The Dolphins, even with all that, were still in this game until we made crucial mistakes on offense. But ultimately, good job to the Jets. They deserve a win, so I'll give them that. Giants versus Green Bay. Saquon played a really good game. Daniel Jones played good enough football to win. They played complimentary football. Both sides of the football played good, at least for the second half. The first half, that Giants offense was a little bit scarce. But their defense stepped up in the second half, and their offense played even better, so led to them beating Green Bay. Chargers versus Browns. The Chargers were down 14-0 at the beginning of this game and ended up winning 30-28. Ultimately, they kept taking the lead and battling back, but Justin Herbert and that defense was just too much for the Browns to handle at the end of the day. Seahawks Saints. So Geno Smith is looking like a franchise quarterback right now for the Seahawks. Not necessarily in the win column, but his stats speak for themselves. Saints, the only reason they won this game is because of Taysom Hill and their defense. I think if Taysom Hill doesn't play good, they wouldn't have even been in this game at all. Raiders Chiefs. I think we proved to a lot of people that Derek Carr is seemingly overrated. Once you take away his primary target, he doesn't know what to do. And ultimately, Chiefs defense stepped up as of late to get the W. Patrick Mahomes had a good game. Travis Kelce was on another level. Chiefs get the W. Eagles Cardinals. Kyler Murray played winnable football. The Cardinals defense played really good up until late when they allowed the field goal. But they played good enough to win. They just couldn't capitalize on opportunities from an offensive standpoint. Now I want to talk about NFL Week 6. Vikings-Dolphins, one of the premier matchups of Week 6. I feel like there's 2 things that have to happen for the Dolphins to win this football game. Skylar Thompson has to have a big day passing. 3 things. And we have to get at least 1 deep ball touchdown. And the running game has got to be on point like it was last week. It's got to be. Raheem Mostert's got to have a good game, and Chase Edmonds has to stop dropping passes, because the next time he drops a touchdown, Oh my lord! Like there's so many drop passes by the Dolphins this year, and it's like not even funny. But from Jalen Waddle, Chase Edmonds, Tanner Connor, Mike Gesicki, if they would have catch the ball 95% of the time, these games that we lost the past 2 weeks would not have been lost. But I think without Tua, that offense struggles too. That offense just looks a lot better and a lot smoother under Tua, which, given so, I mean, he's the starting quarterback. You plan your plays around your starting quarterback, so it's not like anything new. But hopefully we'll get Tua back next week because he's not going to play this week. But he is back limited at practice. He's throwing passes now. He's a few steps away from being out of the protocol. Teddy's still in the protocol, so it looks like Skylar Thompson's going to be playing. But if Skylar Thompson has a big day, Teron Armstead plays at left tackle, and Xavier Howard plays, then I think the Dolphins can win. But if not, then the Vikings will obliterate the Dolphins. Commanders versus Bears. So that's the Thursday night game tomorrow at 8:15 on Amazon Prime. Commanders have a good offense. The Bears have a good, semi-good offense. They have a good defense. Ultimately, I think they both have a good game. I think they both score a lot of points, but I think Carson Wentz makes a mistake late, like he always does. Like you couldn't have more of a Carson Wentz game than him being so good to where he throws an interception on the goal line to lose the game like he did last week. I mean, it's remarkable. Jets versus Packers. So, honestly, I feel like the Jets' defense has really improved since last year. And, I mean, statistically, if you look at it, they have. They're, 13th in rush defense. I think they're 17th in pass defense. Like, they've improved all around as a whole and getting pressure on the quarterback. Jonathan Franklin-Meyer, Quinnen Williams, C.J. Mosley. So, honestly, I feel like the Jets give Aaron Rodgers a lot of trouble. And I think they beat the Packers in Green Bay. Saints-Bengals, if Taysom Hill does not have a good game, then the Bengals are going to run away with this game. I firmly believe that. But if Taysom Hill has another good game like he did last week, then the Saints will be in this game, but I still have the Bengals winning by 3. Ravens-Giants. I feel like the Ravens will play a good enough game to win the game, but they'll fall apart like they always do. And I think the Giants' defense is just too much, and the Giants win. And I think Saquon has a big day. I think he goes for over 200 rushing yards and 260 yards total from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns, which would help me a lot because I have them in fantasy, so that'd be great. So I got the Giants winning that game big. Cardinals versus Seahawks. I think the Cardinals win big. I think Geno Smith still plays decent, but I think Kyler Murray shows us why he is the number 1 overall pick. Bills-Chiefs. Bills have a great offense and a great defense. The Chiefs have a great offense and a good defense. I think that the Bills win, and I think the Bills win by 10. But I also think it's like a score of 45-35. I think the Bills' defense steps up late to win the game and get revenge for losing in the playoffs last year with 13 seconds. So Bills by 10. Cowboys-Eagles. I think the Cowboys are in this game at halftime with Cooper Rush, and I think Micah Parsons is the reason why they're in this game at halftime. But ultimately, I think Jalen Hurts and that Philly offense just pulls away. I mean, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, I just think they pull away. And that offensive line, Jalen Hurts, I mean, they've got too many weapons. I think they pull away at the end and start off the season 6-0. Broncos-Chargers, yet another primetime game for Russell Wilson to probably not do anything. Good, anyways. I mean, he does do something, but it's not good. Russell Wilson has looked about as bad as Nathan Peterman used to look. He has a worse QBR than Geno Smith, which I think the Seahawks won that trade now, looking back at it. He doesn't want to take hits. He doesn't want to evade rushers anymore, and he just wants to get rid of the ball. And he throws up stupid balls. Like, he throws it into coverage. Like, he just throws it up to get rid of it because he's scared of getting hit. And you can't do that as a quarterback in this league. But I think the Chargers capitalize on that. Russell Wilson has a horrendous game. And I think Justin Herbert and that Chargers defense get it done. And I think the Chargers win big on Monday Night Football. Last thing I wanted to talk about was my best friend Robert. He's like an older brother to me. But he plays for Rutgers. They're 3-3 at the moment. So they look decent. Robert's having a good year. He has 2 picks. And I don't remember how many tackles, but he has 2 picks on the year. He hasn't played in the last 2 games due to injuries. But hopefully they'll get him back after the bye week. So if you could if you haven't heard of Robert Longerbeam, keep an eye out on that name. I feel like in a couple of years he'll be a high draft prospect. I know not a lot of people come out of Rutgers, but I've always known that he's been a great football talent. And he shows that. He's an elite ball hawk. He's got good coverage skills. Last year he had a better coverage rate than Keely Ringo, which was the number 1 corner in all of NCAA football last year, considered to draft prospects. Well, considered to scouting from NFL. So I feel like by the end of this year and by the end of next year that y'all be hearing a lot about Robert Longerbeam. If you haven't, go check him out. Look up his highlights, his high school highlights and his college highlights. You'll see how he plays the position so well. I mean, he plays DB, and he stays in phase. He hardly ever gives up passes. Like, he's just really good. He's fast. He's athletic. He's got hands like glue. But if you don't believe me, go check it out and let me know what you think. His name's Robert Longerbeam, number 7 on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. But anyways, that's all the time I have for today. Y'all stay blessed.